Hello friends and fellow car lovers. I just thought I'd give you a little update on what's been going on with Baylee, the 65 Mustang Fastback. A couple of weeks ago, I had pulled the engine and transmission so I could paint the engine bay, paint the engine, and do some wiring things. And a couple of weeks ago, I put the engine and transmission back in it, and we've been working on it ever since. So I'll tell you what we've been doing. Put the bumper, the front and rear, the bumper, the top and the bottom valance on, and I put the running pony back on. Had to take all that stuff off because the engine crane, when I was trying to get the engine out, I couldn't get it in far enough, so I had to take that stuff off. I also put some LED headlights. Those also have a yellow halo that I've hooked to the turn signal rather than the parking lamps below. I think it's just a little better for safety, and I'll show you those in a minute. We'll open the hood here. Sorry for the camera work. We painted the engine bay and cleaned everything up, cleaned the engine up, painted it. The timing cover is new. The water pump is new. This is a one-wire alternator. I took the stock one off, put the one wire on there. I was going to change the distributor, but instead I kept the stock distributor, but I took the points out and I put a Pertronix electronic ignition module in it with a matching Pertronix coil. Got a new fuel pump down here, new oil sending unit, and a new water temperature sending unit for the aftermarket Marshall gauges. I'll show you those in a second. Down here, the wiring from front to back in the car is all brand new. I bought a 21 circuit harness off of eBay for like 103 bucks. It was amazing how cheap it was. But anyway, so every wire in the car has been replaced. This right here is a 100 amp circuit breaker, which I have going to straight battery power coming off of the new starter solenoid here. That goes into the cabin and to a bus bar that I can connect to if I need battery power for anything. And so with this, it should cut it off if there's a problem before there's a fire or something. I also put a 150 amp mega fuse down here, if you can see that, in the alternator line, the alternator charging line, just so if there's a problem there, it'll shut it down before it creates any issues. I've also got a heat sheath on the line that goes from the solenoid to the starter because it's right up against, down on the starter, it's right up against the header. So I put that on there. All these wires are new. What's not new is the spark plug wires, and I noticed there's some ticking. So I thought they were good, but I think some of the wires are grounding out a little bit. So I've got some new ones on the way. I also have some heat sheaths on the spark plug boots themselves because they're pretty close to the header. I've got black wire loom running throughout to cover all the wiring, so it's not super conspicuous. I've got a bus bar here and a bus bar on the other side. Down here, as you can see, where my finger is, for the grounds. I've got several grounds. I kind of do overkill on the grounds, but from the block to the body, block to the frame, and I've got several places where I can access good grounds for the lights and everything else. I think I covered it in my last Facebook post, but the brakes are all new. I bought a conversion kit to convert from power drums to power discs in the front. So this is the new booster, the new master cylinder, all the brakes on the front and the rear. The front's discs, the rear are drums, but all the hardware's new. New drums, new wheel cylinders, new everything. The only thing that's not new is the steel lines that go from the front to the back and go from the distribution box here to each wheel. But all that stuff's new. This is also new, this export brace, the one piece. It did have the single braces on each side, and I took those off and I put this on. It took a while because 50-something-year-old car, the bolts on the firewall were about 1/8 of an inch off when I tried to bolt these just finger tight onto the top of the shock tower and then get them on the firewall. So I had to jack the car up about mid-door on the frame, and then that let the engine and everything, the weight of the engine and the front of the car, pull it down, and I was able to line up the bolt holes and get the bolts in. So now everything's rigid the way it's supposed to be. Let's see, what do we got outside? One more thing outside, but we'll get inside first. Outside here, that's one of the old seats. I put some new Pro Car seats in here. That's the old dash panel. I put a aftermarket dash panel with aftermarket gauges in it. We'll see in a second. That is the old 55-year-old seat belt, because I put a 3-point harness in here. Right here you can see. And I've got the second one for the other side, for the passenger side coming, and I'll install that. I put these high back Pro Car seats in here, if you can see those. And they're pretty good, except for the adapters were way too high that I bought to put these things in. So I wound up, after I installed them, taking them out, and then I fabricated my own seat adapters with some flat steel so that I could basically bolt them, the flat steel to the floor, and then bolt the seats to that. So it gave me about 1.5 inches lower, because my head was hitting the top of the car. In here is the new gauge panel with the Marshall gauges. So that's all new. I ordered the gauge panel from Australia, and it took several weeks to get here because of the coronavirus thing. But everything seems to be working. I'll turn it on here in a second. The switches in the dash for the wipers, the lights, the ignition switch and the light switch are both new, as are the bezels on the outside, because the bezels were kind of scratched up, so I got new bezels. The wiper switch was fine, so I left it in there, but I did get a new bezel. So everything there is new. There was a little problem with the horn, getting it to work in the steering column because of what a previous owner had done. So what I did was I just cut the wire to the horn in the steering column, and I bought a momentary switch here, and I took the lighter out of the dash, and I found this momentary switch that just has a little horn icon on it, and I put the horn there. This little stereo's coming out. I've got one to replace it. I just bought a cheap one. These are aftermarket kick panels in the front that take the 6.5-inch speakers. They're made for it, so no holes were cut in the doors or anything. The speakers were shot, so I replaced the speakers. And what else have I got? We'll start it up. Running good. It's running good. Got a good oil pressure. It's charging like she's supposed to. I believe the gas gauge is working properly, but I'm not sure because I haven't driven the car. A couple of things I have to do yet before I take it on the road. I have to get the brakes bled. I found out I had a leak, and so I haven't gotten that buttoned up. I'll show you the turn signals. You can see the yellow halo. And the indicators in the dash work. In the back, I put all new tail lights, everything's LED. I put the sequential turn signals on here. Everything, so we're almost cooking with gas. We're getting there. Just a few more things to do. Oh yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but if it was totally dark in here, you'd be able to tell. The gauges go from white with the black numbers. When you turn the headlights on, they go to a dark gray with almost a gray or black number, so it looks really nice at night. But that's it. We're almost cooking with gas. We'll have her on the road pretty soon. But I just thought I'd give everybody an update if you're interested. But she's getting there. Starting to look pretty good. Looking like a car again. Looking like it's ready to run. So, thanks for watching.